Hi guys, I got a shift just recently, so here's a video on the critical issues of teens. The reason why I chose um, exploring controlled substances and the impact it has on teenagers is because it's something I deal with on a daily basis as a peace officer. I see a lot of the aftermath. I don't really deal too much with juveniles, um, but you're able to talk with these guys and see that, well, what happened? Why are you here? Why are you homeless? Why are you um, addicted to this stuff? And you kind of they're usually pretty open about it, and it kind of goes back to where they first started it and how the family unit was an impact on that, and what kind of influences they had. So most of the time, it actually goes back to when they were teenagers or early, even sometimes 12 years old, and they started with alcohol, and that was what a lot of the research showed me was that alcohol was one of the main factors that linked to other drugs. It said about 80% of students who graduate high school have drinking alcohol in one study. I thought that number was pretty high, but I guess depending on the area or pool. But so alcohol was one of the main factors, and then a lot of people smoke marijuana, and that's another one of the gold standards of controlled substance use in teenagers. Marijuana is on the rise, and it is just rapidly growing into just a new beast every day. Um, Long gone are the days of just simply like the Dazed and Confused, but now marijuana is becoming more technical. It's becoming easier to hide and conceal from parents with new forms in like vape pens. They have this stuff called wax and dabbing with synthetic marijuana, and it just goes in a vape pen. Almost looks like it can be a cigarette, or not even that. It smells fruity. You'll never even know, but it's about 6 times as potent as normal HTC. And then pills are another thing. Just going off on parties, but those were the main. My research showed that it was so common with students who've at least tried something. Um, while there wasn't a huge epidemic of addiction, there was a huge problem with people who were using, because they were about 3 times as likely to commit suicide, to have depression, obviously 80 times more likely to have addictive traits than their counterparts, obviously because they never had it, but just a myriad of that. The graduation rates are dismal. I think one research showed it was about 30%, and then just socially, you're able to just see how if they smoked marijuana or they took pills or did a controlled substance such as cocaine or whatever in high school, then to have a lifetime prolonged use of it was, I believe it was about 45%. But the crisis intervention I used was twofold. I used one with parental support and two without parental support, because what I've realized was not a lot of the times, not often, um, the parents actually really care, or they see it as a big deal, especially when it comes to alcohol. Um, so if you do have parental support, then when you come in and encounter that a student has a problem with a substance, you should go talk directly to them, and do so in a way that if a teen confided in you about something, do so in a way that is compassionate about it. And you should talk to the teen maybe even prior, say, hey, you know what, this is a really big issue that I have, that I think is going to really hurt you, and I want to see you succeed. I want to see God bless you, and I want to see God transform you and break you free from this. So let's walk through it with your parents. And if you kind of are able to approach that, maybe even stay with the team when you talk about it with them, it might work a little bit better. And then from there, the teens, if it's you, the parents, and the teenager, probably fall more on the parents, but if you can work as a team, even better. Just have the accountability. Changing changing locations is was one of the major factors on just showing how drug use will drop. Changing circle of friends, obviously, because those who they associate with are the ones who they're using the drugs with. Um, and then being more involved in other activities such as extracurricular church activities, and just being busy. The more busy they were, it was showing that they were um, less likely to go back and consume that, because most of the time it actually happened was when they're just hanging around, either partying or just not doing really anything. That's when the trouble happens. So, um, and then just elimination of accessibility. So if the parents are willing to maybe get rid of alcohol in the house, if they know somebody smokes illicit substances, to get rid of that in the house. Even if they don't share it with the student, just the visual of seeing that this is normal, or even just testing it when they're not looking, makes a big impact. Now, if there isn't parental support, say you find out and you try to talk to them, talk to the student, and says, no, my parents, they're addicted to drugs as well, and I might be addicted to drugs, or you talk to them and the parents like, just forget you, like, don't worry about how I run my house. As a law enforcement officer, I put that into my own hands, to go contact the right authorities on that. As a minister, you can work two ways. So one is directly with the student, and that is by helping them get into resources, to drug programs, to again follow the same model, just understanding with the parents, just by separating them from their group of friends, hanging out with them, maybe really pouring into them and praying with them, and challenging them on Bible studies, challenging them to go pursue different careers, and just kind of speaking God's promises over them. But on the same token, be willing to bring them to drug facilities, bring them to Alcoholics Anonymous, bring them to teens, the START programs, or bring them to all these programs that are designed for locally, because each cities and counties have their own little pockets. But bring them to that and talk with them, get them into that, encourage them to just, hey, this is normal, this is just a resource for you. And then if you believe that it's causing harm to the child from the parents, then contact the authorities. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can talk to another minister, or you can talk to maybe a teacher that they have, or contact just law enforcement, just have an anonymous tip, and then maybe have them investigated, because I know as a cop we'll investigate that, see if the child is in danger at home, and if there's any intervention techniques that we have, because even as a county law enforcement officer, we're able to bring in just professional help on that end too. So as a minister, just know you're not alone. Know that when dealing with drugs and teens, that if you're able to just be open about it, maybe even if you had a past, just say, hey, this is where I've been. I've been down this road, and talk with them about that. Then that's just a huge factor, because they'll be, you know what, he's been here, he's been in my shoes, and look at him now, he's on the other side. Another thing is just be graceful. Don't be judgmental if you find out that maybe your student partied one weekend, or your student tried drugs or is addicted to drugs, or in any spectrum. Just be like how Jesus was, and show grace, show mercy and understanding, and just show them that you're actually there to care. You're not there to judge them, but you're there to help them, and that you just want to be a tool for them that they can go to, and walk out of this addiction. So that pretty much summarizes it. I understand it was a little long, but I feel like I had a lot to talk about. So thanks, guys. It's been a great semester.